fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
It's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Welcome to Oulton Park, UK for this round 4 of Club Day Masters. This has been a very exciting season for Club Day Masters, now in a multi-class format with the Audi TCR and Global Mazda MX-5. We come to another great national touring car club-style layout and circuit for today's racing. From the endurance format, we are back to double 30-minute sprint races, progressive grid tonight, and that means it is going to be wall-to-wall touring car, bumper car madness tonight, I would say. Throw in a little bit of strategy, throw in some safety cars as well, but it is going to reward the drivers able to get their shoulders out, move forward, but also make sure they get to the checkered flag in both races. We're going to be covering qualifying and all of it here on SimSpeed tonight. Qualifying underway right now before we head into the two races. I am David Haynes and I am joined by Cam Dance. Jay Kennedy is behind the scenes, and for your viewing pleasure, he's not visible. Cam, great to be here with you once again. Qualifying underway right now is absolutely mental with all the cars, both classes on track at once. What are we expecting?
Oh, we can probably expect quite a bit of carnage and all sorts of stuff going on, especially with the fact that it's such a short layout, and it's one that's very, very tight as well. So passing is going to be very important. Traffic management is going to be quite key as well, especially later on in some of these races. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but nevertheless, it's going to be one that is going to make qualifying very, very interesting and very entertaining.
Yeah, it does appear, and we're going to take a look at the layout now. We're racing the longer layout, but without the chicanes. Here it is in the UK, and a circuit that's hosted a lot of national level GT and touring car action, and is now free content on the iRacing service, which makes it extra popular for a lot of our racers. No excuses to be missing tonight. No additional costs to have Oulton Park circuit and go racing. Here it is, set amongst the British countryside and the lakes and the forests. Tall corner for turn 1. The hairpin, turn 5, Shell Oil's corner. That is always very exciting. Very banked corner, reminiscent of the carousel at the Nürburgring. And then we have no chicanes, high speed down towards Knickerbrook, and then back up the hill where it is tight, it is bumpy. And Cam, I don't think there's anywhere around this layout that's more than about 3 cars wide.
Certainly, it's a very, very narrow track, and pretty much is only 2 wide, well, barely 2.5 car lengths wide, like you said. So it's going to make it very, very difficult to try and go 3 wide anywhere without it ending in tears, but certainly is going to make passing quite difficult, especially through some of the sections where you have to use all the road, even when you're on your own. So it's going to be very, very tight and very, very heated through some of these corners, and wouldn't be surprised if we see a few cars off on the way in turn 5 and possibly ending up in the barrier.
What about that pit lane? We know drivers are going to need it in both of the 30-minute races today. It's also a little bit narrow, a little bit short. This is definitely not a track up to scratch to handle international competition.
Certainly isn't able to be up to scratch to handle international competition, but we've seen some very, very good racing around the circuit in the past, both in real life and the sim. But there are your championship standings for the TCR class, and Jack Boyd has got quite a nice little buffer at the moment over Jackson Rihanna before you go back to Aaron Oliver, who had a bit of a shocking round last round, as we saw near the very, very end of the race, getting caught up with some MX-5 traffic, and then you got Angus Cook and Richard Brookfield to round out the top 5. So still anybody's guess as to what's going to happen in terms of that championship, but it's very much in favour of Jack Boyd at the moment.
Yeah, defending champ Jack Boyd, so he's in the position he'd want to be after 3 rounds leading the fastest class, the TCR class. That's not where all of the excitement has been. It's been spread across between TCR and MX5, always very, very close. No matter how you slice it up, there are always cars that it's very competitive, very close, very accessible as well. So Caleb Hydes is leading, but only a little bit ahead of Dylan Burst. Those two have been going back and forth in the races this season. Sean Doyle has also been a little bit of Mr. Consistency with some good scores, definitely on the podium several times. 510 points for him, ahead of Nick Skaryev and Philip Paradiso. I think Sam Lehman must have been a bit hit and miss so far this year, because he's had some decent results, but he's not well adrift, but definitely missing some of the points compared to our top 5. This is qualifying underway right now. You can see the remaining time in the top left. And, well, it is difficult always to find a little bit of clean track. Here's 2 drivers who look like they might be able to get a little bit. Andrew Hobby, he has got the fastest lap time right now, but now he's maybe just getting held up a little bit. At least it's not MX5 traffic.
It's not getting held up at all. He's getting a very, very nice draft at the moment from Ivan Fazziato, but it's looking like he might just get balked a little bit here, and he's run wide as well, so that's going to have invalidated that lap anyway, and Fazziato going to let him on by. So both drivers bailing out of this lap at least, and Jack Boyd's not too far behind them as well, so we'll have to see what's going to come of that. But Aaron Oliver at the moment, currently P2 in the qualifying order with a very, very nice lap, not too far off Andrew Hobby as well. It's very, very close between the top 2, but Jack Boyd's just gone to P1 to knock Oliver down into P3, and Dylan Burst currently leading the MX5 class at the moment as well, with a nice little buffer of about 4 tenths over Tame Venables.
Yeah, precisely. MX5 love, they are always going to like a little bit of a slipstream, a well-placed toe on their fast lap. Always super useful. Skaryev in yellow, one of the Drop Bear Motorsport cars in front of him, the 92. Caleb Hydes, currently second for qualifying. Skaryev, that's not the fastest line through there. He lays down some of the smoke through Cascades, coming down through the left-hander, and is probably going to throw away that lap. But it proves one of the things about this track: narrow, bumpy, grass on both sides of the track at every corner.
Yeah, it's very, very old school with, like you said, bumps, grass, and all sorts of undulation going on around the circuit to make it that much more of a driver's track. You don't really have any sort of long straights or wide runoff to be able to use. You've really got to manhandle the car and make sure that you're not putting a foot wrong, or you can find yourself in the barrier or well off into the grass. So it's very much going to be key to keeping it on the black stuff tonight for a lot of these drivers, especially in those TCR cars, where with it being front wheel drive, if you end up on that grass, you're going to be in quite a bit of trouble through some of these faster sections, especially through this corner here.
Even worse than a normal race car, if indeed rear wheel drive is normal. Touching some of the grass on the exit of the corners in TCR is a recipe for losing a lot of time, because suddenly your drive wheels are on the grass without grip, pushing you even further wide with the front wheel drive wheel spin. Your lap is near enough gone if you put one of your front wheels out on the grass. There is Angus Cook. And yeah, again, a little bit of a misstep potentially with the traffic, trying to work together with his Summit teammate. But again, it plays back into the character of this track: narrow and bumpy, and that makes it tough to play nice in multi-class.
Yes, in these sort of cars where, because there's no real long straights to be able to use the horsepower as well, the TCRs can't really end up getting on by the MX5s too easily, and in some of these corners it's actually the MX5's a little bit quicker as well, so it's really going to be very, very important to time your moves right and making sure that you're not just going to send it up the inside and cost yourself possibly some damage, or even a penalty, or even a possible bit of incident points.
And how about the tyre warm-up on the TCRs? Looking at the weather, I think I saw a little bit of sun there in the UK for maybe the first time this year. It is still about as cool as it can be. 20 in the air, 21 on track. That is definitely on the cooler side. Is that going to mean it takes a couple laps around this short layout to get proper tyre temperature for these cars?
Yeah, it certainly would. I mean, the fact that this is a reasonably short layout as it is obviously going to mean that tyre temps are going to be a little bit harder to, well, take a little bit longer to get up to where they need to be. But even with the colder track, it's going to make it that much worse. So it's going to be really all about making sure that you can get those tyre temps up as quickly as you possibly can, especially in this sort of qualifying situation. And if you've only just come out of pit lane as well, you're really going to be possibly compromised. But nevertheless, with the see who can do what, who's going to be able to try and adapt to the cold tyres as best they possibly can, especially in the first few laps of the race where it's going to be very, very tricky through some of those quick corners.
Here's Tane Venables, currently third for the MX-5 class. He was up in second until Dylan Burst and Caleb Hydes both found a little bit of extra speed. They're currently half a second in front of him. We've got none of the, what are they called, Britain's chicanes? I can't remember the name for the two sets of chicanes on the back straight there, but we have neither of them, and that gives you a lot of approach speed into the sweeping right-hander, then up the hill. We saw some of the TCR cars trying to get around Tane Venables. Didn't look like it held him up or the TCR driver up in that case. Now he's just got one more corner, and it is bumpy in the braking zone here as well. You turn in, and well, if you're Tane Venables, you don't turn in, but normally you turn in there and the track immediately drops away on the exit, making it really, really tough. From the highest point of the track to the lowest point of the track doesn't seem like a crazy elevation difference like you have at Kyalami or the Nordschleifer, but there's definitely plenty of corners where, you know, the track's just got to drop away a meter or two on the exit, and it really changes how you approach the corner, how much speed you can carry, and what the proper racing line is, and also how you can battle wheel to wheel.
Absolutely. Turn 3 of Cascades is certainly one of those prime examples where you go from being reasonably somewhat high up to dropping about a meter or so, and you end up suddenly having to go downhill with downhill braking, and then also getting on through the corner, and there's not a lot of camber through that corner either, so you've really got to make sure that you hit your line right and aim to set yourself up quite nicely, and even through the back end of the circuit with all that undulation as well, which creates a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Certainly it makes things for an enjoyable little cruise until you end up through the final corner, where you've really got to make sure that you're putting the power down quite nicely, with the fact that it drops off on the exit, so very, very easy to spin the wheels up and run a little bit wide as a result.
Yeah, indeed. And I think what an interesting corner it is at that hairpin as well at turn 5, where maybe it doesn't use so much of the elevation, though there is some elevation in play there. There's also a lot of camber in it that means you can get down the inside with a late maneuver, and so long as you sort of hook the camber on the inside, you're all good. You want to be down the inside there, sort of reminiscent of Griffin's Bend turn 2 at Bathurst, or the famous carousel at the Nordschleifer. This is a little bit of a home brand version, maybe a little bit of a knockoff of the carousel then, and you can't quite hold the torch to that famous and difficult corner, but it gives you an idea that some of that is in play. Here's Adam Sharp, and well, I don't know, if you've ever seen a Holden Commodore owner put a Chevrolet badge on it, you're like, okay, not sure about that. He's going to put a Chevy badge on his Mazda. That's really gone a little step further.
Yeah, it certainly is. He's tried to... What's he trying to make it? He's trying to make it a Chevy Cruze X5?
I'm going to hurt myself if I try to think about it. But with just a minute left in the session, if you're not on a flying lap now, if you're not improving, it's probably going to be too late. That is off the track for Glenn Boyd, so I would say his qualifying is done. And not to worry, his son, Jack Boyd, is currently at the top of the timesheet, with time running out for anyone to be able to displace him. Vantagiato, Brookfield, and Cook from 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are all in the pits, so they're not going to get ahead of him for the TCR pole. Marlon Fraser is at a driver with currently no time. Yeah, no time yet for the Sesame Street Mobile. So this would need to be a good one if it's going to let Marlon Fraser start ahead of Greg Holmes or George Gutierrez and others in the MX-5 field. The timing line comes up here, 44.9, and that is going to jump him ahead of Philip Paradiso and George Gutierrez. So good stuff late in the session there, as Dale Carpenter also jumps to 10th for TCR. Sam Lehman, has he got a qualifying time? He does, 43.6, and he's going to look to improve on it. He is a 43.1. Good time right at the end, and there comes the checkered flag cam.
Very, very well did Sam Lehman to get that across the line with nothing in it in terms of time left. But there is the grid, and it's going to be Jack Boyd and Vantagiato on the front row of the TCR class, and then Brookfield and Cook on row 2, Hobby and Oliver on row 3, followed by Glenn Boyd and Jackson Rana on row 4. Row 5, it's around at the top 10 is going to be Stephen Owen and Dale Carpenter, with Christopher Hen, Matthew McMillan, Shannon McMillan, Dylan DeBono, and Nathan Allen to round out the field.
Yeah, indeed. That's our TCRs on the pole for MX5. Going to be a standing start for race 1, 30 minutes. Dylan Burse, Caleb Hydes, then Tane Venables for third. In the row behind that, Sean Doyle. Behind Sean Doyle comes Sam Lehman, Nick Skariev, Anthony Connors, Adam Sharp, Brady Buchanan, Marlon Fraser, we saw improving late. And then I think it's no times for Philip Paradiso, Nathan Allen, George Gutierrez, and Greg Holmes. That is our field for race 1. As I said, standing start, 30 minutes, and there is going to be a compulsory pit stop. We normally see, Cam, that they want to clear that pit stop early.
Yeah, we certainly see that most of the time, with the fact that there ends up being a safety car at some point of the race, so you want to try and get that pit stop done as early as you possibly can to avoid having to drop down to the back of the field when that safety car comes out. But we've seen some people do some different strategies, going a little bit longer and doing it after the safety car, or under the safety car, but we'll have to see who's going to do what and who's going to pit earliest. But certainly going to be a very, very nice run to turn 1 for Jack Boyd, and hopefully he gets it off the line, so here's a clean run.
And no qualifying session for race 2. How they finish race 1 becomes the progressive grid to race 2. So if your qualifying wasn't great, here's your opportunity to race forwards. But if you started up front, you can't afford to throw it away because it'll set you back. Time runs out. Drivers are getting ready for the start. Revs are going to rise. The TCR cars are going to hold it against the handbrake, release the handbrake, and launch into action at Oulton Park. But some drivers have got better getaway than others. Oh, Nick Skariev, an early pit entry. Everyone else appears to be away cleanly for the moment. The field is going to all stack together, coming through turn 1, then downhill towards the Cascades. TCR car off already, well out into the grass, not collecting anyone else. And that would have looked like Glenn Boyd also having some troubles. Dale Carpenter's got part of the front of the car hanging off.
Quite been the turn 1 or the start that we hoped for a few of these drivers, but at the front of the field, not a great launch for Jack Boyd either to drop back to third, but a very, very nice launch by Vantagiato to move into the lead of the race. But Cook certainly giving him a little bit of pressure and a little bit of a bump from Jack Boyd as well to sneak up the inside of Angus Cook as they head down towards the back straight. A little bit different barge going on between the two of them. There was 2 wheels up in the air at one point, and do possibly wonder if Cook has got a little bit of damage as a result of that. He's dropped in behind Oliver and Hobby as well, and it's going to possibly result in possible carnage, and Cook barely holding onto it and he's off the road. So I'd say that car has got some damage of some sort.
He might have a puncture. The front right looks like it's down really, really low. Yeah, I think the front right tyre might have gone in that contact. Just a little bit of side-by-side. Guys thought they could, rub and bump shoulders in cars like this, but unfortunately, it looks like it has resulted in a puncture for Cook, who started right up front. Here is some of our MX5 battle. These cars, they launch away from the line really well. They can just rev it up, dump the clutch, and it grips. Your MX5 Olstead is starting right behind some of the TCR cars. Actually have to be careful not to run up the back of the front-wheel drive TCR cars. The only consolation for Angus Cook as he comes into pit lane is that this is going to help him clear his pit stop early, potentially. If he can fuel up to get to the end from here, it might not be catastrophe. Still, it's not what you want to happen, and now there's more contact at the front, side-by-side. Vantagiato, Jack Boyd are going to escort each other into the Armco. Aaron Oliver says thank you very much. He continues into the lead, but what a tangle. And we mentioned the elevation change, the sweeping downhill of the Cascades there can cause some problems. Virtual Racing School replay, Cam, what do we think?
It's kind of hard to know what's actually happening. It just looks like Vantagiato's run possibly a little bit wide. No, actually Jack Boyd's run a little bit wide and has caught the left rear wheel of Vantagiato and then caught it sort of launched together and off into the barrier, and that's not going to do Jack Boyd's championship any good at all, nor Vantagiato, who's going to have had to tow back to pit lane as well. So
look at Vantagiato's tyre here. as he ends up into the wall. It goes to try to join its friends in the tyre barrier off to the left there, and he realizes immediately how much damage is on his car. Jack Boyd takes a second longer and then realizes his car is also toast. We mentioned progressive grid. This is also going to cost these guys points in race 1, but put them right to the back for race 2. And it's changed everything up at the front. So Aaron Oliver leads from Hobby, and then that battle you see Stephen Owen, Jackson Rehana, Richard Brookfield, Christopher Henn, all in picture bunched together there. Rehana taking a look down the inside of Owen. Is he close enough at turn 1? Doesn't feel like it to me.
It doesn't quite look like it's going to be close enough to have a go, at least at this time around, but they're certainly very, very close together. And Rehana's going to want to try and find his way on by as quickly as he possibly can. Past Stephen Owen. Brookfield's dropped off a little bit out of turn 3 as well, so lost a little bit of time and was giving them a bit of a buffer, but Rehana's looking to the inside, but not going to be any gap there as Owen goes defensive on the way through turn 5, and looking like Rehana's going to get a nice bit of draft down at the back straight now down towards Knickerbrook at turn 7. We'll see what's going to happen here. Is he going to try the outside? Is he going to try the inside? Owen goes defensive to the inside. He's going to try and look around the outside. This is going to be very, very brave. If he can pull this off, Stephen Owen's not going to give him in an inch, and there's a little bit of rub there as a result, and Rehana's just going to have to back out of that one.
No chicane there means it's not such a heavy braking zone. They're really, really committed trying to throw the car through there. So this is that 4, Owen, Rehana, Henn, and Brookfield now trying to get in and amongst the action. Stephen Owen not giving away his podium position. For the MX-5s though, the lead battle is on. Dylan Burst, yeah, that's how much his mirrors are full of Caleb Hyde. It is all Caleb Hyde's, and all the time as they show us the bumps and the narrow bits of the track here, heading towards the final corner. I think they're having us on with that one, but you will see exactly how much of a late apex you've got to take through the final corner there in those kind of cars. Matthew McMillan at bumper is a mind all of its own.
Yeah, a little bit secondhand is that front bumper of it. Matthew McMillan being involved in some form of an incident. Looks like it happened at the final corner as well on that lap. So he's taking the opportunity to get that damage fixed on that lap. But Hydes is not letting Dylan Bruce get away at all here and is really applying the pressure in bucket loads.
I think that lack of chicanes on the back straight gives you higher average speeds, sees them slipstreaming together, but it doesn't give a big braking zone passing opportunity. That's kind of keeping them glued. As we're looking at first and second, you can tell that third place Tane Venables is still in the fight. Sean Doyle is still picking up the slipstream, and this is the podium position battle. Rehana wants another dig at Stephen Owen. Angus Cook with his early pit stop has to be careful because he's now coming back through the traffic to try to regain his rightful place.
Yeah, certainly is coming back through the MX-5 traffic to try and recover something out of this race that has certainly gone pear-shaped for him and didn't go the way that he would have hoped it will have started, but Stephen Owen's still managing to hold off Rehana. Rehana had another go at him that last lap on the way down to Knickerbrook, but still couldn't get on by. But the front of the field, though, Oliver's really coming under pressure from Hobby, who's really closed that gap down in the last lap or so. Hobby with a 34.7 compared to a 35.1 from Aaron Oliver. So Hobby's got some real
exit on turn 1 there. A lot of guys running wide. That's one of the places you can go wide without losing time. I can see a handful of drivers who haven't set a clean lap yet in this race. Your leader, Aaron Oliver, is one of them. Jackson Rehana for 4th is another. And your MX-5 leader, Dylan Burse, finally puts in an allowed lap to actually have a best lap of the race. And Aaron Oliver, can you forgive him for maximizing the speed, maximizing the track everywhere he can, because he's got Andrew Hobby glued to his behind as we see some of the MX-5 drivers coming through to take their mandatory pit stop. It's Glenn Boyd up on the jacks, and I mean up on the jacks, as he might be a retirement from this race. No, he's getting back out there. Okay, another virtual racing school replay though. This is the lead battle, is it not? And yeah, this is how Andrew Hobby got past Aaron Oliver for the lead.
Here it is as Oliver's left the door open, interestingly enough, for Hobby to get up the inside on the way down at the back, showing that it's just let him on go by as well, which, yeah, not quite sure why he didn't try to put up a fight there, but nevertheless, that pass has been completed, and now Andrew Hobby is the new race leader.
It's 3 for 3 in the lead battle in MX.
Oh, no!
Oh, now it's just one. That is almost a carbon copy of what we had in TCR. They tangle, they escort each other into the barrier. Kane Venables, massive damage on the front. Same too for the drop bear machine that reversed backwards onto the racetrack. Oh, has that caused a problem?
It certainly has by the looks. For Team Venables has not had the best rejoin, and that's caused McMillan to be involved with a heavy shut as well in that. Ooh.
Take a look. I thought that was a bit suspect, reversing onto the racing line, but here's how it all started. Kane Venables looks down the middle, nothing going there. And then he just tries to follow across behind the leader. Comes across Caleb Hydes, it was there. Now we're looking... the reversing on the track has caused that for sure.
Yeah, probably wasn't the smartest rejoin.
Now I would from third in TCR live right now in the fence as we recap this incident for the lead in MX5.
Yeah, I've just seen what's happened with Stephen Owen, and that's not really what they would have wanted, and it's happened at the corner that we've seen those two going at it, checking around, and Stephen Owen side by side on the way down towards Liverpool and just touching wheels, and that was it. Stephen Owen sent straight into the Armco heavily.
A tap to the rear as he's maybe squeezing across a little. Always hard to say. But yeah, it's been carnage at Oulton Park. Look at all of the cars on the pit lane that are taking repairs. Christopher Henn needed a bunch done. McMillan looks like he's still waiting on the toe potentially. As we see Hobby, Oliver making scheduled stops. So that was the lead battle. Both of them have come in on the same lap. Probably means that Hobby is going to get out in front and eventually rejoin in the race leader. Am I wrong? Aaron Oliver.
Just going back and have a little look, Andrew Hobby's actually made a mistake on that lap that he pitted it on the way into turn 10. Running a little bit off the track, so that's allowed Oliver to slip on by and get into the pit lane before he did, and well and truly up before Hobby got out.
Angus Cook's currently running third, but he only took 1 second of fuel when he pitted. So I think net leader is Aaron Oliver at the moment, because you mentioned, Cam, that problem for Andrew Hobby kind of given away the lead a little bit. He's now 5 seconds behind Oliver, and Christopher Henn not far behind him as well. Rayhana and Brookfield have carried on. They don't want to get caught the wrong side of the safety car, but they are going for the overcut and maybe hoping they pick up less traffic than some of their competitors. That looks like Rayhana going for pit entry, and all the MX5 leaders coming in as well. Difficult chicane on the pit entry there as well, Cam.
Yeah, it's a very slow speed that you have to slow down to as well. Only 50 kilometers an hour after coming out of that final corner and towards pit exit at about 150 odd in the TCR and just under that in the MX5. So you come into that pit entry very quick, and it's very easy to end up speeding if you're not careful. So it's certainly a pit lane that can catch a lot of people out, whether it be going in too quick or just clipping that inside barrier, with the fact that it's a little bit of a tight chicane as well. So it doesn't look like anybody's having dramas, but certainly one of those pit lanes that you have to be a little bit careful of.
Looks like Kane Venables got a drive-through penalty for his contact on Caleb Hydes, and Caleb Hydes got a drive-through penalty for reversing back out on track and hitting one of the McMillans. Now the two other MX5s that have pitted are on the lane together, Sean Doyle and Dylan Burst, who was your leader. Richard Brookfield, the only TCR yet to pit. And is it going to be now? Well, we're going to find out in about 2 corners time. This is the only car in the race yet to pit. And if the safety car came out before he got to pit lane, he would be in a right world of hurt, probably cycling all the way to the back of his class. And here it is. Is he
You
gonna be able to-
literally called
Pit
it.
entry's closed now, right? Pit entry's closed?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I feel like people are going to think that I knew what was coming and jinxed him, but it caught me by as much surprise as it appears to have caught Richard Brookfield.
Yeah, indeed. And it's also possibly caught out a few other people as well, just coming out of the pit lane as well with the fact of when it was called. So that's going to mean that Sean Doyle is going to have to sit behind the safety car instead of being able to pass it as well.
Wow. Well, and also well. So you've got Brookfield. The only driver yet to have made a stop. We saw Sean Doyle coming out of the pit lane there. He's been trapped in a really weird little spot here. But I imagine in a lap or so, he's going to get waved around the pace car.
And I've just seen that we've had an incident in the MX-5s as well under safety car. And Sharps had a moment on the way catching to the tail end of the safety car and was involved. Nick Scariev and also Tame Venables to run straight into the back of Adam Sharp as well.
And then the bumper fell off in shame. We're gonna see what happened from the onboard here of Adam Sharp right up behind Scariev. Boom, sends him into a different postcode, and then what? Tane Venables comes and does the same.
You'd have to presume, although that's it, Tame Venables probably didn't expect there to be a car stopped right there, but yeah, that was just really, really weird.
It's a bit, well, you can see what he could and couldn't see, but it's still a bit awkward. And of course, we would have known we were all under safety car. Should have had a little bit more warning of that one. So some wave rounds happening by the looks of it. Let's recap. Brookfield is going to have to pit at some point. So then Aaron Oliver will become the leader. Then Andrew Hobby and Christopher Henn in third for TCR. In the MX-5 field, we're all kind of getting waved around at the moment and zooming around trying to catch the back of the field again. We've got Dylan Burse for your leader. He's got Jack Boyd behind him for position. That's what's going on right here as they've got their wave arounds. Then Sean Doyle. Well, how's his car looking? It's looking all right. He'll be second in class. And I think Buchanan going to be third in class by virtue of he's got all the body panels on.
I think so, because you'd have to think that Venables will come down onto the lane
Brookfield
at some point.
is going to drop him to the back of the lead lap in class. As Oliver, Hobby, Henn, Rayhana, Owen, DeBono, Millen, Carpenter are going to come past. Angus Cook also couldn't fill up his tank when he pitted at lap 1. There wasn't room, so now he's also got to go make a stop. There is the stop done for Brookfield. Angus Cook doesn't look too happy as he realizes he's going to the back of the field. I can see him. He's mellowed a little bit now, but there's a second there where he stopped in the box and he was less than pleased. But at least from where most of the MX-5s are, these TCR guys are still going to be in front of them. Oh, is Cook been speeding on the pit lane? He's got a penalty or something? He's still held there.
Yeah, I think that he probably did speed onto the lane with the fact that he still stopped there and waiting. It's been a little bit more than a few seconds worth of fuel, so I'd say he's probably been caught red-handed, and you can see there he's a little bit disappointed with himself with the fact that he's been caught speeding, so he's going to be sitting there for a little bit longer, and he possibly he's actually going to come out behind the MX-5s as well, so he's not going to be too pleased about that.
Else at play. Has he been bugged out with some damage or something? He's held even longer than I would have expected for speeding the pit lane penalty and looks like he still can't go. He looks more frustrated than disappointed with himself, if I'm reading that expression as well as another context clue for what could be the problem there that is seeing Cook drop down the order.
Yeah, that could be another possible explanation with the fact that he's possibly got some sort of bug happened to him in the pit lane. There maybe some form of damage was on the car that we weren't sure or aware of, maybe, that needs to require repairs.
It's been now 2 minutes he's been parked there and he doesn't look any closer to going. What does look closer to going, which will probably be stressing him, is that pace car where the lights are off on the Porsche safety car, which means it'll be coming in this time. Excuse me. And that'll mean Aaron Oliver is going to lead us to the restart with probably just under 11 minutes to go, the way all things stand at the moment. So Hobby, Hen, and Rehana lined up behind him. Dylan Burse, your MX-5 leader, in a very interesting, potentially beneficial, potentially difficult position. The two cars immediately behind him are TCR cars for position. That means the next car in class he's got to worry about is Sean Doyle. There's two cars in between the MX-5 leader and second place in MX-5. I don't think that is going to help Sean Doyle, that there's a little bit of an air gap between him and his class leader.
Yeah, certainly. And also, yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what happens. But actually, I did notice that Cook has come down onto the lane the second time, so that was his second pit stop, which was fascinating. He's back out on track, but green flag and a very, very nice jump from Aaron Oliver there to pull away from Andrew Hobby, and looking like a few drivers trying to get some moves done in the background as well. Stephen Owen not quite able to get the move done, but Dale Cuppen getting on by Shane McMillan with a very nice move.
Boyd Brookfield also critically getting around Dylan Burse very cleanly. Oh, Stephen Owen's not going to get cleanly past one of the McMillans, who might also get tagged by poor Glenn Boyd again.
No, it's Jack Boyd.
Jack Boyd. Oh dear. That is a wheel and a bumper that are in need of a TCR car to be attached to.
And a little bit more than that with the fact that it's going to be engine repairs as well, as that motor is probably well and truly done, I'd say, based on that impact and the fact that there was dark smoke coming out. You can see McMillan, just nowhere to go, unfortunately, and McMillan just losing it on the grass, and pretty much that is race over for both those drivers, and a lot of hurt as well in the championship for Jack Boyd there, with the fact that he's going to be all the way down the back of the field and not really scoring any sort of points.
That's where it started. Owen goes a little wide and then loses control on the grass. There's chaos right now live in the MX-5s. Skariev is off the road. Number 8, Philip Paradiso. Damage. Marlon Fraser there with some damage. Quite a few of them come together, unfortunately.
Yeah, it looks like it's started actually a little bit in front of them as well, with Buchanan running wide, and then they've all kind of checked up as a result of what's been happening in front of them. So a few of them, unfortunately, coming to blows with each other and receiving a bit of damage as a result, which is not going to be ideal. But Stephen Owen trying his hand around the outside of Jackson Rihanna at turn 3, a little bit ambitious here.
It was almost Rehana making a move there, was it not? Oliver and Hobby are skating away. Owen, who we ride on board with, is side-by-side with Dylan DeBono at the moment. And Owen's going to hold the inside for the hairpin, which is, I think, where you want to be. And DeBono in black waits, tries to take that late apex to slingshot himself at speed onto the straight and then over the crest. Sean Doyle has also gotten around Dylan Burse for the lead in MX-5. There was 2 seconds between them on the restart. And Doyle has launched his way to close the gap and now jump into the race lead, and Hydes isn't too far behind. There's Owen a little wide. DeBono with a big run, trying to come up the hill, but there's some kinks in the road. It's narrow, and it's tough to find a way to get down the inside. He's going to try here. Is that going to work? It is, because Owen's going to go wide, then try to close the door, and gets escorted onto the grass by DeBono. Oh, and then there's a bit of retribution coming towards the final corner. Owen's going to lunge down the inside. Huge move. They make contact again. De Bono in the gravel, in the grass, but not in the wall.
Yeah, luckily keeps it out of the wall, but it's going to lose a handful of positions out of that as a result of that contact. And Sean Doyle is still holding on to the lead in the MX5 class as well from Dylan Burse. You have to wonder if Burse is possibly just sitting in behind, being a little bit patient, knowing that he's got a bit of time to get this move done and knows he's got the pace to get it done as well with great ease. But we'll have to wait and see what happens between these two. But Doyle's doing a fantastic job at the moment to hold on to the lead of that race.
5 laps to go as you've seen our MX5 leaders just cross the line. Don't stare too long at Dylan Burst's livery or you'll, I don't know, start feeling a little funny. Sean Doyle, though, is going to try and hold on to the lead in that one. It's all getting hot as they've, in TCR, trying to put a lap on Marlon Fraser, who's repaired that damage we saw earlier. So there comes Owen, now with Dale Carpenter lined up behind him. Christopher Henn lined up behind that. This is such a difficult corner to make a move at, because if they approach at the highest speed of the lap, and it's not a huge braking zone, so it's tough to get all the way down the inside there and cleanly complete a move. Also, narrows on the exit, kinks left at the top of the hill, etc. All of those things. It's difficult to race side by side and pass through there. Dale Carpenter hasn't been able to make a move in this battle for fourth.
Quite been able to make the move yet to get close enough to get one done either, so we'll see what Carpenter can do here. He's got some very, very good pace at the moment, pretty much matching that of Stephen Owen, and Christopher Henn's tucked in right behind them as well, so possibly could lose it 2 in one go, could Stephen Owen if he's not careful enough, but we'll have to see what's going to happen. And running a little bit wide, managed to make that work, did Stephen Owen, but they're starting to catch up to Jackson Rahano, who's not too far up the road as well, and a little bit more MX5 traffic to make this a bit more of a spicy battle too.
Time's running out in race 1. You can see Steve Owens moved up a little bit in this one, so we'd like to start race 2 from the same position. The lead at MX5, Sean Doyle, Dylan Burse, Caleb Hides is now joining the party here. And that could just make things difficult for, well, it's already difficult for Sean Doyle, but it can make things extra difficult for Dylan Burse, who now needs to look in his mirrors as well as looking forward.
And we know Hides has got pretty much the same pace as Burse as well, so Burse is going to need to get a move on, which it looks like he's going to be doing, giving Doyle a bit of a pump draft on the way down to the back straight down towards Nickelbrook, and we'll see what he's going to do. He's going to pull to the inside on Sean Doyle on the way into turn 7. Not quite going to be close enough to get a move over the curb though. That's going to mean he's going to draw up alongside. Now Hyde's getting involved, giving Burse a little bit of a bump draft, but not quite able to complete the move is Dylan Burse, so he's going to have to sit and seeking for another lap this time around.
Couldn't be closer if they tried. 2 cars, bumpers locked, trying to go past another one. It would make it sort of 3 MX5s in the length of about 2 cars. The final corner. Then immediately downhill. Marlon Fraser, good stuff, trying to stay out of the way of this lead battle as they are going to start just 3 laps to go. Angus Cook did get out of pit lane, did get that car fixed, and he is technically racing these guys for position. So he's going to want to try to use the turbocharged horsepower and slick tyres to get around them. Not sure if Caleb Hides is a huge fan of him not waiting for the straight though. Then eventually I think Cook will get clear of this and we'll just see this MX5 battle to the end.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a very, very close one. Of anybody's guess as to who's going to end up coming out with the victory in that MX5 class. The fact you've got the top 3 all nose to tail at the moment, and very much a close battle at the moment. But whether Doyle's going to be able to hold on is the big question. Is Dylan Burse is certainly giving him a very, very good run for his money at the moment with only 2 and a bit minutes to go.
There's nothing for it in the lead of both of our classes. This is the lead battle. in MX5. There is 0.3 of a second in it for the lead battle of TCR as well. You can tell just minutes remaining in this one for someone like Andrew Hobby to move forward past Aaron Oliver. I heard his XL is up for sale if you're looking to buy one, Cam.
I think shipping costs will be a little bit too much to get it to NZ just quietly.
Yeah. It's would it be in South Australia? Last thing I knew. That's probably a little far even for me if I had the money. Which I don't think I do. Dogecoin hits $1, I'll buy it. Okay, here we go. Battle for the lead. This is going to be 2 laps to go for these guys, but when TCR come around next, they'll have 1 to go. And I don't think TCR leader is going to lap our MX5 leaders in the remaining time. Short as this lap can be, I think with the restart with 10 minutes to go, it's enough for the MX5 leaders to stay ahead. Doyle doesn't look like he's doing anything crazy here to try to defend. He's just trying to run his lines. And I think as the leader in this situation, you can only do so much to break the draft. You just got to try to keep a cool head if you can. TCR leader's got checked up behind Marlon Fraser though. So again, super close for all of our lead battles. These guys are about to start the final lap of the race. We're inside of the final minute and I don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, it's anybody's guess who's going to win out of these two as they were side by side on the way down towards turn 7 on that last lap, and Aaron Oliver had to go defensive. So Hobby is very much wanting to try and get on by and steal a race win here off Aaron Oliver, and Stephen Owen's going to launch it up the inside of Christopher Hen. Nearly a little bit of contact back out of that one in at the end, but it's very, very close. And Caleb Hydes has gone and taken 2 for 1 in the process of that one corner there. And now Burst is going to try and get on by Sean Doyle here up the inside on the way through to turn 10. And he's barely going to be able to do it. He's going to try and have a go at Caleb Hydes in the process as well.
Yeah, huge move though to try to get down the inside. It didn't stick. Good stuff from Hydes to come from 3rd to 1st to lead this battle as they're going to start their final lap. TCR leaders are halfway around theirs. Our good friend Barney has the white flag ready for him, letting them know to, well, make it home, but put it all on the line. And putting it all on the line, Dylan Burst down the inside of turn 1. I think he's got that one. He's got to worry about the back straight though. These guys have already come through it. Scariev for traffic in front of Oliver. He's going to want to send it right on through, and that might actually save his bacon a little bit because it took away an overtaking opportunity for Andrew Hobby. Oliver's just got to cover the final corner. I don't think Hobby is close enough, and so long as Oliver has the fuel and has the drive off the final corner, he's going to take the win in race 1 of Club Day Masters at Oulton Park. He picked up positions where others got in tangles and went off the track, and the podium there is going to be completed by Jackson Rehana. Stephen Owen, does he grab some positions away from Hen and Brookfield at the end here? No, I don't think he does. MX5s though, they are side by side for that lead. Versus down the inside of Hydes. Oh, and they're both going to go off. Can Sean Doyle, Stephen Bradbury at no contact? The door gets closed on him. He's not going to be pleased with that one at all. Caleb Hydes has the momentum. Dylan Burst has got damage, or he's waiting on Sean Doyle. Oh, that was messy. Caleb Hydes though, I don't think he's really done anything wrong, so he'll probably come through and be the winner in the MX5 class.
Yeah, just managed to come away with the race win there, did Caleb Hydes, and it looks like Doyle is going to get the position redressed. Buchanan and Connors, those side by side in the final corner. It's going to be a drag race between the two, but Connors is going to end up taking away that position, and you can get a replay of what was happening on the way down the back straight, weaving and everything going on between Burst and Hydes. Hydes tried to hold it around at the outsides, threw it in as hard as he could, but unfortunately just couldn't quite, and in the end ended up on the grass.
Yeah, so actually, it seems like running wide, running off the track for Hydes there, saved him getting tangled in the mess that then ensued. It was a crazy 30 minutes for race 1 of Club Day Masters. Aaron Oliver, we said, your winner in TCR from Andrew Hobby and Jackson Rehana completing the podium. Then Hen and Brookfield, Dale Carpenter. Oh, a lot of drivers got ahead of Stephen Owen on the final lap there. So Vantagiato sneaking back into 7th despite having towed with a broken car. Shannon McMillan, I think some similar woes. Angus Cook got stuck in pit lane, but then got out, and on the last lap was rewarded for his persistence. Picks up a spot off a damaged Stephen Owen, 10th in TCR. So it's the walking wounded and almost retirements after that, as we saw some of the issues for DeBono and Glenn Boyd. Well, I've lost the screen that had a count, but he must have been 4 times through the pit lane potentially. Caleb Hydes, the MX5 winner though, ahead of Anthony Connors and Brady Buchanan, and you called it, Cam, even though we didn't see it. Look how close they were for 2nd place. A great little battle they had, and they picked up a bunch of positions on the final lap as Doyle had damage and Dylan Burst attempted to redress the position. And then Nick Skariev, not sure how much Mazda was left that he brought to the line, but it counts for 6th in class ahead of Lehman and Paradiso. And then, well, it's basically retirements here, Cam, but it is important because it's the order that they're going to start race 2 in a couple of minutes' time.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you're going to have the likes of Jack Boyd, Matthew McMillan all starting down the back with the MX5s as well, which is going to make it very, very chaotic for them, and going to mean that they're going to have to weave their way on through very, very quickly to make their way into that TCR field. They should be saved by a safety car, but who knows what's going to happen, and they'll just have to try and be clean and get some points of some sort, especially for Jack Boyd, who's leading the championship at the moment. And with that DNF in race 1, it's going to be very much a shrunken one.
Well, that was race 1 of 2 for tonight's proceedings in Club Day Masters. I don't know if I've got the heart for another race like that, because there was always something going on, but we're going to find out in a couple of minutes' time. In the meantime, we want to thank today's presenting sponsor in Club Day Masters, which is KP Air. We're also going to take a little break and bring you a message from series sponsors and be back in a minute or two with race 2 of Club Day Masters at Oulton Park.
Are you new to sim racing, or maybe a veteran struggling to reach the next level? Have you ever wondered how the aliens reach impressive lap times that seem impossible to achieve? If so, you're not alone. Most drivers reach a certain level and get stuck. But getting faster on track is easier than you think. VRS coaches are some of the best sim racers in the world and offer one-on-one driver skills training at affordable rates to help new drivers learn the basics and help experienced drivers break through to the next level. Are you ready to get faster and get off the iRacing roller coaster? If so, VRS one-on-one personal training is for you. If you've invested in your equipment, it might be time to invest in yourself. Just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a 30, 60 or 90-minute session with one of our world-class coaches, and you'll learn exactly what to do for faster lap times and more podiums.
Well, thank you to all of those sponsors who bring Club Day Masters and this SimSpeed broadcast of Club Day Masters. Once again, David Haynes here with Cam Dance and Jay Kennedy producing. What we just saw in race 1 is how they're going to line up for race 2 now. The drivers who move forward through the field are going to be rewarded, and those who got tangled in some incidents, well, it's going to be a tough slog for them. Aaron Oliver, pole sitter, look how keen he was to get on the grid. He's waiting, ripping, ready and raring to go for another standing start here. Run it through quickly, even though we kind of covered it off a couple of minutes ago. Front row, Oliver and Hobby, then Rehana, Christopher Henn, Richard Brookfield, Dale Carpenter, Ivan Vantagiato, Shannon McMillan, Angus Cook, Stephen Owen, and Dylan DeBono. It looks like they're not actually going to get gridded by class for this second race. So then comes Caleb Hyde, Anthony Connors, Brady Buchanan, Sean Doyle, Dylan Burst, Nick Skariev, Glenn Boyd for a TCR car in the mix. Back to MX5s of Lehman and Paradiso, Matthew McMillan's TCR, then Marlon Fraser, Tane Venables, Jack Boyd, and I think Aaron Sharp and George Gutierrez for some of the last cars that we see. But they are racing now, all of our drivers ready to go. Someone with a bad start in the middle there. That could have been Dale Carpenter, I think. I don't know if he struggled for a launch, struggled for a gear, but we're away for race 2 at Oulton Park. Conditions very much the same as race 1, so don't expect too much different. Same at play, just a different starting order and more points up for grabs. Owen looking down the inside at Cascades. Is he going to have enough room on the curb? He just is in his battle, side by side with Ivan Vantagiato. Now streaming down towards the hairpin for the first time. They've got to negotiate this tough blind kink that then feeds them into the braking zone. Tires are cold, and you saw some almost wandering out wide onto the grass. Raise my hand, I've done that before.
I think we all have done it at some point. You can see there Glenn and Jack Boyd making their way through the MX5 field in a quick succession after only 5 corners, so they're going to be very, very happy with that. Not too far off the back of the TCR field as well, so they're going to be certainly back in the fight very, very quickly. But it was a very, very nice lunch by Andrew Hobby to get the race lead off Aaron Oliver, and now this pack is going to turn very, very heated.
Yeah, the Hobby to the lead at the expense of Aaron Oliver. Angus Cook launching from 9th up into 6th, so he's on a tear, and in this front TCR field, you can see him now trying to dice with Richard Brookfield. They're going to go side by side in the final corner. Oh, Cook didn't know whether to try to go round the outside or whether to try the over-under, and just ended up in an awkward little no man's land there. But I get the feeling like he might almost be, or did you just get a better runner? Is he being given the position? I think he's just more aggressive on the cold tyres.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit more aggressive on the cold tyres, but certainly is very, very busy in that little pack just inside, or just outside the top 5. And Brookfield's going to get done up the inside by Vantagiato, so another position gain for Vantagiato to move into that 6th place.
Hyde's trying to get away from Burst, Buchanan and Doyle at the lead. Oh, they're smacking from Sam Lehman through the grass, through the gravel, through they call it the Foster's circuit there, and he's really struggling to pick that up. And we will take a look, and then we'll have to get to live to TCR where they're banging some wheels. That's Venables getting escorted off the track in one direction. Lehman on the outside, 3 wide. This track is just not wide enough to do that safely.
And came off second hand there in the end, so certainly not what you want to be doing too many times around the circuit. You can find yourself in strife with a little bit of damage, but Vantagiato and Rehana at the moment just going 2 by 2 just ahead of this little battle pack of Stephen Owen in there, and Rehana is just about going to hold on to it, but gets shuffled out by Vantagiato, and now that's going to allow Brookfield to try and sneak up the inside, and manages to get that done very, very nicely.
Yeah, side by side through another place where it's difficult to do so. It costs you a lot of time as well. Cook, having picked up this position a lap ago, is looking for it again, this time down the inside of turn 1. He slams the door shut in Brookfield's face. Owen and McMillan were having a little bit of a scrap behind, but that looks like it's settled out, and Stephen Owens picked up his pace and found his rhythm. Or has he? Suddenly, a huge burst of speed from Shannon McMillan. can't hold it around the outside of that kink, even in these cars. It's tougher with more horsepower in something like a supercar, where that kink really becomes a corner. Or to be flat out in a TCR car, when you have the line but too wide on cold tyres, is asking a little bit too much, and Shannon McMillan knows it.
Yes, it was going to be a little bit ambitious to try and make that move stick, and even if you did, you'd certainly be praised very, very well for it, but it's going to end up not happening at this time at least. It's running a little bit deep on the way through turn at 7 as well, and Shannon McMillan's going to get a nice little run there as a result. Rockfield's looking very hungry though, just ahead to try and find a way on by Cook, and he's all over that rear bumper at the moment of that Summit car just in front of him.
So we saw, well, what did we see? There's a drive-through penalty somewhere deeper in the TCR field for an incident that we didn't catch. I thought it was going to be something to do with the Sam Lehman contact, but actually no. I think it's for Dylan DeBono for contact on Dale Carpenter or something. Those two in 12th and 13th respectively here, not quite taking part in the battle pack that is forward of them in class. That's Venables down the inside of Sean Doyle, man who came so close to being the race 1 winner. Now he's going to try to cut back. That's an over-under worth talking about on Venables. He's got the regular racing line, and he's going to get a bit of a tap. He's not happy with that one.
He's not going to be too happy with that one, unfortunately, and ending up in another incident in both races. So not a night to remember for Sean Doyle at this point, I don't think.
This is looking backwards from Rayhana in 4th, at Vantagiato in 5th. Another one of the movers. 2 positions gained so far for Ivan. And immediately behind that, Angus Cook up 3. Jack Boyd, it says up 15. Is that correct? It might be. He's been a huge mover, some of those AMX5 cars, but here's a look. Vantagiato on Rayhana. It doesn't quite work. And he's going to go for pit lane instead. Early pit call.
Possibly not a silly move though, with the fact that he's deep or buried right in that pack as well and getting held up a little bit. So we'll have to see if this is going to pay off for him, but he's going to get a lot of clean air as a result of pitting it as early as he is, and not going to get held up by MX5 traffic. I don't think he is moving it away, so is it going to end up coming out in a lot of clean air, and it's going to be able to put him some nice, clean, consistent laps with that clean air as well.
Still risky. He's only just going to be ahead of Caleb Hydes and Dylan Burst. Your MX5 1-2. Yeah, that is going to give him a little bit of a pocket of air to work with for the next couple of laps before everyone else pits. And I've got to imagine seeing Brookfield that got hung out to dry by the safety car last time. Everyone saw that, I think, and that might make everyone a little more hesitant to run long in race 2.
Possibly will create a little bit of a different strategy mindset for a lot of these drivers as a result of that. But anyways, we'll see who's going to do what. We'll see if anybody reacts to Vantagiato as well, with the fact that he's pitted so early. Top 2 not coming onto the top lead. The lead car isn't coming onto the lane, but Aaron Oliver certainly is, and following on in is Rayhana, Cook, Brookfield, and Owen. Boyd and Glenn Boyd come into the lane, so suddenly a flurry of TCR cars all diving down onto the lane.
Yeah, car park on the pit entry. Everyone trying to find a spot at Countdown on a Saturday morning. For sure. Vantagiato, is he going to be able to undercut these guys? He's rolling. He's at speed. Looks positive for him. Where's everyone else on the pit exit? Well, they're side by side coming through pit exit there. Steve Owen is going to try to muscle his way ahead of Jack Boyd. And they all resume into the race. Vantagiato has jumped all of them except Aaron Oliver.
very nice stop and very nice outlap as well from Vantagiato to jump pretty much the entire TCR field and end up second effectively at this point. So very nice pit stop from him, and it was also a very nice pit stop from Aaron Oliver to get a nice gap over everybody else as well. So maybe a little bit of strategy involved in taking a little bit less fuel, but as we're hearing that Venables does have a driver who has to
Sort of
drive through as well.
him
And
for
the
it.
caution,
Man, safety car is early. Wow, this is going to leave Andrew Hobby out to dry with Ken McMillan, Carpenter, DeBono, and Matthew McMillan. Wow. I guess we're 10 minutes in. It's a surprise to me. At MX5 as well, by the way. All of the guys up front hadn't pitted yet. Only Buchanan, Lehman, and Marlon Fraser had made their stops. Hides, Burst, Scario, Anthony Connors, Sean Doyle yet to pit as well.
so most of the MX5 field well, you'd have to imagine will come down onto the lane when they come around next time by, when the pit lane is open. This certainly does cause a little bit of a headache for Andrew Hobby with the fact that he's now going to be having to pit under the safety car. Same with Christopher Hen, Shane McMillan, Dale Carpenter, and a few others as well. So it'll be interesting to see what this is going to do to that TCR field with the compression, and also what it's going to do to that MX5 field as well.
Two sides of the coin, yeah, is all of the TCR guys who haven't pitted are going to go to the back when the field compresses and then the pit lane opens. But because we've had the safety car so early, there's going to be a lot of racing on the other side of it to the checkered flag. More time for those guys to show their pace and make up some more position. So because the safety cars come so early, it's surprised them and it's caught them out. But the redeeming factor is because the safety car's so early, it ends so early, we're going to have a couple more laps racing after the safety car to the checkered flag than we had in race one.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be the benefit, at least, of having the safety car so early, is we're going to get a little bit better, longer of a race to the finish rather than it being a few lap sprints. So that's going to be one advantage, certainly, of it being so early. It's also spice up the strategy as well with the fact that
Bono. He was briefly scored in the race lead there. Is Monday night. I can do F1 spoilers now. You got to be careful who you overtake under a safety car. That's all I'm saying. Free up my man Kimmy. Yeah, so he's not going to get penalised for that if he was indeed just being a little cheeky or misread something, because he's immediately slotted back into where I think his position should have been. Yeah, pit lane's going to be open this time around, particularly for, I was going to say particularly for TCR, but actually it's as important in TCR as it is in MX5. Here they come, Hobby, Hen, McMillan, Carpenter, DeBono, and Aaron Oliver is going to cycle through into the race lead. Vantagiato is going to be second, so his early pit stop seemed a little early, but now we know with the benefit of hindsight, I think bang on.
It certainly is going to have been a very nice strategy call, and also in the lane as well with the rest of those TCR leaders. He's going to come out in front of them all. They've pretty much kept their positions, except Hobby's been held for a little bit longer than everybody else, so I'd say he's been caught speeding into the lane.
The other possibility is from where he was, if he raced to pit entry too aggressively, he could have gotten stung for passing the pace car. That can happen. Is if you pull out of line with the safety car and then accelerate into pit entry and get there before the safety car, you can get in trouble, or he might have taken tyres by mistake. He is the last of the running TCR cars from being one of our great lead battlers in race 1. The other things, Lehman and Buchanan are in such an interesting position as the leading MX-5s, because look behind them. Christopher Henn, McMillan, Dale Carpenter, Matthew McMillan, Glenn Boyd, all of these TCR cars, not just 2 cars, suddenly 5 of them between the MX-5 leaders, and then 3rd place in MX-5, all the way back there is Marlon Fraser, then Dylan DeBono in a TCR, and then Caleb Hides and Dylan Burse. At this speed, in the train, Hides and Burse are 10 seconds off their class leader. There's a class leader coming over the crest now, and not even in that shot was Hides and Burse who raced for the lead in race 1.
Yeah, so quite a mixed field there as a result of what's happened under the safety car, and that's a lot of TCR cars that they're going to have to have it navigate past them as well, other likes of Burse and that behind them. So, well, they're going to have Andrew Hobby coming on through, but certainly going to be very, very busy as the likes of Lehman and also Buchanan, with the fact that they've got those TCR leaders in behind them. So they're going to have to try and make sure that they don't get held up too much and end up causing themselves any grief.
Aaron Oliver led us to the restart in race 1. He's going to do it again in race 2, but this time he's got Vantagiato and Rayhana up his bumper. Lehman is probably just going to follow the train. There's no benefit to Sam Lehman as MX-5 leader for trying to back up behind the TCR leaders. That compromises the TCRs behind him and also just leaves him more exposed to Marlon Fraser and Caleb Hides and Dylan Burse and their position in the train. So I think we're going to see this all restart in one single file restart. Lehman and Buchanan in the midst of the TCR pack are going to have to be so careful in their MX-5s. Aaron Oliver crawling, and then he puts the power down, already up to 150 kilometers an hour on the pit straight. And he's pulled a car length or 2 on Vantagiato. That's what he needs in the restart here. Owen pulls out a line looking into turn 1. And predictably, the MX-5 leaders have to be very careful, but immediately there's a bit of contact between Carpenter. And it's checked up Lehman and Buchanan.
It certainly has. They're going to be side by side on the way through turn 3 as well, but Lehman's going to come out ahead of it. Buchanan in that one, and McMillan and DeBono are trying to get their way on through it all, and Boyd's had a problem as well further back.
Front left's flat there now. MX-5 leader. Really just haven't been able to make as much hay on this restart as you would have thought, because they got checked up by 2 TCR cars making contact. That saw Lehman and Buchanan have to give away a little bit of speed, give away a little bit of time, and now suddenly Marlon Fraser, Caleb Hides and Dylan Burse are lining up behind them. For the TCR lead though, Oliver, did he look defensive? Was he defending from Vantagiato? I think he has to.
He certainly had to go defensive there, and Vantagiato had a little bit of Jackson Rayhana for company as well, nearly, but he managed to stick with it. But up the end, trying to go around the outside as Vantagiato into the side of Aaron Oliver nearly, and Vantagiato is going to end up off it into the barrier.
Yeah, he is. The Summit teammates side by side as Angus Cook forces out his teammate Rayhana and moves up into second and immediately behind Aaron Oliver for the lead as well. These 3 trying to get away. Stephen Owen, might have heard him earlier in the last lap. He got very sideways in the final sector, laid down some smoke signals. That cost him a bit of time, but he could still end up behind the top 3. And Jack Boyd, 19 positions gained in this race. He's looking to make it 20.
Possibly even more with the way he's going at the moment, but sizing up Stephen Owen for his next move. at the moment. Currently it's sitting at P5 in class and wants to make that P4 very, very shortly. Tucked right up in behind Stephen Owen as they head down the back straight. There's a little bit of a bump as well from Jack Boyd on the way through the little kink there. Owen's going to be defensive on the way down the back straight, but Boyd's going to decide not to make the move back at the front. Cook's trying to go around the outside of Aaron Oliver, but not going to make that happen. And now Aaron Oliver's going to be trying to find it, well, hold on to that position as Cook's going to try around the outside. He's going to have the inside for the little kink. Oliver's going to have the inside for turn 9 and 10. They're just going to come out in one piece, and Oliver's just going to hold onto the race lead there. He's going to go defensive on the way into the final corner at Lodge Corner and is just going to hold on to that. A little bit of contact going on behind them between Boyd and Owen as well. It is really getting spicy up here.
Same two for the MX5 lead. Lehman has Buchanan, Hides, Marlon Fraser, Dylan Burst right up behind him. I also saw Jack Boyd and TCR mowing 3 separate pieces of grass on that lap. Still 10 minutes to go, still 7 laps in this one. You'd be forgiven for thinking the white flag was waved last time because our TCR lead battle, 1 snake, 7 cars. Aaron Oliver has the flashing lights of Angus Cook in his background. No expression on the face for Angus Cook, but the headlights ablaze as Rehana is, I think, what do you do? Teammate to second place runner who's sizing up for the lead. Do you got to play rear gunner here? Are you hoping for your teammate to open up an opportunity that you can also take advantage from?
Well, I guess the question comes down to who's wearing the championship, and then also what do you want to do? Do you want to go for the race result, or do you want to try and work together? It's really going to come down to what's going to happen and what they're going to do. But nevertheless, we'll have to see what's going to happen. But Oliver again going to have to go defensive on the way down towards turn 10 as Cook's going to try it around the outside again. Not quite going to be able to get it done. Stephen Owen moves up in the third ahead of it. Jack Boyd, and Rehana's going to lose it a lot of positions, and is possibly going to lose another one to Richard Brookfield as well, just in behind. And Boyd looking to make another move on to Stephen Owen, and that's not gone well.
And if ever there was one, very ambitious from Stephen Owen. Now he's rubbing wheels with Jack Boyd, and there's just nowhere for poor Angus Cook to get that car facing the right way again. Now he's going to get going. Stephen Owen up into second. Rehana gets shuffled back a lot. Now he's picked up a couple more. Jack Boyd once again side by side with Richard Brookfield. Brookfield's going to have the inside down the bottom of the hill there. Going to try to escort Boyd off the track. Can't do it. Boyd will hold on. And that compromises the exit a little bit. That was aggressive from Stephen Owen earlier.
That certainly was.
Aaron Oliver got a 1.5 second lead now, by the way, through all of that, and second place getting taken out. A little bit earlier than that, please, Mr. Director. This Stephen Owen trying to defend, I think, from Jack Boyd, just gets in late into the final corner.
So we got a little bit spooked by Jack Boyd being right on his tail and just missed his braking marker, unfortunately, and that's ended up with Angus Cook being hit in at the left rear corner and nearly pulled it up as well, but just was a little bit too late. I would say that's probably going to result in Stephen Owen being issued a penalty, but we'll have to see what's going to happen. But Boyd is trying to get another move done on Rehana, but not quite going to be able to get it done all the way through there. Lehman's on the fence.
Lehman, yeah, he's not happy. That is, well, it's Venables or Buchanan behind him. He's side by side with Venables.
Oh no. Is the left? Yeah, I'd say the left rear is broken there.
But then the suspend. Oh no, he gets clipped. Oh, and then skips deeper. To carnage for the Mazda MX-5 field there. Predictably sees Caleb Hides and Dylan Burst come through to the top 2 positions. Not all sorted in TCR yet, with Oliver leading. His gap's been brought down. Steve Owen's gotten back within a second, maybe hoping to pick up some of the slipstream. Not a huge amount of it on offer here compared to some other tracks, but certainly without those back straight chicanes, they're reaching a top speed of 225 or so. That's definitely enough that within a second of the car in front, you'll just get a little bit of assistance to close in. And Oliver is, unfortunately for him, and his maybe dreams of prancing away with this one and going back to back, got a little bit more company for the remainder of this race, with Owen, Boyd and Rehana closing him up.
Stephen running quite wide there out of turn 1, trying to use as much track as he possibly could, but Jack Boyd is starting to really apply the pressure at the moment. Aaron Oliver's just checking up from the rest of this field, and there's not long left to pretty much clean sweep the round as well, with 2 race wins. But we'll see what Jack Boyd can do in his last few laps with just about 5 minutes to go in this race. So he's going to need to get a little bit of a move on if he wants to get into second and try and possibly challenge for this race win as well.
Yeah, very, very rough race 1 for Jack Boyd, our championship leader. He looking to get a little more. This is defensive and early from Stephen Owen. Does it mean that he has to give up on the slipstream from Aaron Oliver? A little bit. That could be helping Oliver, that second and third are starting to have a little bit of a scrap. Off-roading a tidbit for Richard Brookfield as he tries to hunt Jackson Rehana. Well, Boyd, is he going to get around the outside? No. Is he going to be able to cross back underneath? No. Is he going to get a good run to the final corner? Potentially. Stephen Owen moves early to cover it. Jack Boyd on the racing line, looking to go the over-under again. It's costing those 2 time. You can see Rehana is right at their bumper, and Aaron Oliver is getting away with 3 laps to go.
Going defensive with Stephen Owen. Boyd tried around the outside and thought about it, but not quite able to do it at turn 1 that time by Brookfield's going to look to make a move on it. Rehana not quite going to get enough overlap though. That time into turn 3 was probably going to be a little bit ambitious as well on the way into turn 3, but it's very, very busy and very, very competitive at the moment through that top 2 at the moment. Second and third, sorry, and then 4th and 5th as well. It's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen between these 4 drivers, but you might as well throw Christopher Hen in there, because if one driver makes a mistake, that's probably going to result in dropping all the way back to 5th.
Right, we've seen one accident can claim a lot of cars here. There's a couple places where there's not a lot of runoff. There's a couple blind crests where you don't have the reaction time. Owen defending the inside, gives up the slipstream from Oliver. Boyd can't get around the outside, crosses back to the inside. Do they rub? They are going to rub just a little bit. Jack Boyd forcefully up in second place. Has a couple scuffs on his car now, but he's leaving Stephen Owen to the wolves here.
Getting shuffled out as Rehana as well. It's end up back in behind Christopher Hen now, so Rehana slips back into 5th, and Hen and Brookfield will gain a position out of that. Possibly going to be a penalty coming someone's way as a result of that, but certainly Jack Boyd's going to have got on by in front of the MX5 field. Cal Pides and Dylan Burst back at it again, doing battle for the race win.
No white vans though, as Boyd close it down to within a second of Aaron Oliver now. Boyd's flying, and that's what he needed with 2 laps to go, is to get within the slipstream on this lap so that he can close the gap this lap and then be in position to attack on the final lap of the race. 0.8 of a second at the moment. How much will it be after the hairpin and after the back straight? If Boyd gets a good run onto the back straight and a good slipstream, he can make that lead disappear very, very quickly. Same is true. It's a very similar story in different machines for the MX5 lead between Hides and Burst.
Still going on between the 2 MX5 drivers. There's still nose to tail. Hyde still leads, but this pack, Brookfield's looking like he's got some good pace at the moment and might be able to get a move done on Stephen Owen in the next lap or so. And Boyd is closing up on Aaron Oliver as well, who's not too far away. And starting to approach a little bit of traffic as well, but Aaron Oliver just needs to go one more time around and he's going to have 2 race wins and a nice haul of points in the bag.
Well, he didn't close as much on the straight as I would have thought. I wonder if there is actually a little bit of aerodynamic damage there for Jack Boyd, but through the final sector, Mikey, he's got it down to within 4 tenths. Some ILAC teammates, Brookfield and Hen, trying to hunt Stephen Owen. Stephen Owen's got a drive-through penalty. Wow. And he hasn't served it yet. Here's the TCR. MX5s, they're still going to have another lap to go. They're coming around to take their white flag. And the race lead is nothing on the final lap now. Boyd in the slipstream of Oliver down the back straight. Oliver at the right-hand side of the circuit now, and he's going to stay there. The defensive position for the sweeper at the end of the straight. He holds all the way to the inside. Boyd's done the over-under here before, so he's going to try it again, but there's a car parked in his way. Aaron Oliver smelt that one coming just like I did, and he parked it on the apex, gave Jack Boyd nowhere to go on that one, but Boyd's now going to try to take it around the outside in the final sector, tries to cross back to the inside again, a little bit of a tap, some short track oval strategies potentially, but Oliver is not going to give him the inside anywhere, no way, no how. He's going to force Boyd around the outside of the final corner. Is he going to give him enough room? Boyd's going to pick up a little bit of dirt, he can't do it, and Aaron Oliver is going to clean sweep Club Day Masters at Oulton Park. 2 from 2, but a great recovery drive. 22 positions gained from Jack Boyd to stand on the podium. Stephen Owen is probably going to get disqualified. I'm going to say Brookfield or Hen for the podium there. Cam, what about Mazda?
Yes, certainly. It's on in the masterclass at the moment with, once again, Hides and Burst racing for the race lead, coming down in the back straight at the moment. Hides moves to the inside on the way down to Knickerbrook, and we'll see if he's going to send it hard. He does, but Burst is going to try and do the over and under, and Hides has run a little bit wide, and that's opened the door for Dylan Burst to try and have a go. He's going to be on the inside for turn 10, the outside for turn 9, the inside for turn 10. And he's going to get that one done, but Hides is going to try and do the exact same thing to him on the way down towards turn 11. He's going to be on the inside of Dylan Burst. Is he going to be able to break late enough? Not quite, but Burst is going to hold it around the outside, and it's going to be a drag race down to the start-finish line. There's going to be absolutely nothing in it. Bumper to bumper, wheel to wheel, and who's going to come away with the race win? Caleb Hides by absolutely nothing.
Wow, I thought Burst had the short run to the line there, but Hides somehow just found the good shift, just found the drive to grab the race win. So, unfortunately, you hate when this happens. Some of the podium is going to be decided in the steward's room after the checkered flag, but what I don't think is at question. Aaron Oliver, race winner. Jack Boyd, second. Owen was third across the line. That's where the question mark is, though, because race control had given him a drive-through penalty. Richard Brookfield then fourth across the line in front of his teammate Christopher Hen. Jackson Rehana and from Andrew Hobby, Dale Carpenter. Angus Cook will be ruining what could have been, and Ivan Vantagiazzo 10th there. Then it is double McMillan for the McMillan Brothers Racing in 11th and 12th.
You're going to have Caleb Hides taking out the MX5 class with Dylan Burst, just shy of winning the race. I would say that little bump that he had across the little rise out of the final corner would probably have done it. And then you go back to Brady Buchanan in third. Doyle come home fourth. Anthony Connors around out the top 5 and it's 5-6 to Philip Paradiso, and then Marlon Fraser a lap down, and everybody else. Your DNFs, unfortunately, being Glenn Boyd, Sam Lehman, Philip Paradiso, Matthew McMillan, Marlon Fraser, Tane Venables, Jack Boyd 2, and Adam Sharp around out the field.
Yeah, also some TCR retirements in there as well, obviously. Well, I mean, you can see why Oulton Park has been around many decades. It's not suitable, really, for a Formula 1 car. World Endurance Championship isn't going to come here, but for touring cars, for GT4 style cars, what a track. You can battle side by side. You can go up and down over the hills, and you can really race touring cars here at Oulton Park. And how awesome that it's now iRacing free content. Once again, of course, those are our sponsors for Club Day Masters. As always, Digital Marketing Tribe, 24/7 Race Control, Palmer's, Prospect Cool and Spa, Air Conditioning Sales and Manufacturing, Simworks, Extreme Air Conditioning, KP Air was today's presenting sponsor. And you can see Rinaldi and Automotive Towing there as well. Cam, have we got anyone who has swung by we can grab a chat with?
I believe we do, and we'll talk to our double race winner, Aaron Oliver. It's a drastic result difference compared to what we saw last time out at Bathurst, but certainly one that you would have hoped for.
Yeah, definitely, boys. It's actually a bit of a shock tonight. You know, I got home from work not even half an hour before the race was starting, had a bit of a feed and got in the shower and then straight on the sim, and yeah, geez, it was a bit of a shock, you know.
It certainly wasn't. Obviously, you said last time in the interview while we were at Bathurst that you hadn't really done many laps around this track, but nevertheless you came away with a very strong result. In terms of the racing around this sort of track, obviously you were out the front most of the time, but did you find it was reasonably clean for the most part?
Yeah, for the most part, it was actually pretty clean and respectful racing up the front there. To begin with, I didn't really have a lot of knowledge about the track and that. And when I was leading in that first race, I let Hobby go by, as you guys might have noticed in the broadcast. And I just wanted to follow him for a few more laps to get more comfortable with the track and that. And it ended up working out all right. But yeah, overall, the racing around it was pretty good. It is a pretty narrow track though, and there is a lot of elevation change and a lot of bumps, and it does make for a lot of close racing, especially for while passing and that. So in that aspect, yeah, it's very close, and it can also be a bit dicey at times.
Now, certainly, it's looking like it's at least been a very nice result, and some very good championship points as well towards the championship standing as well. We head to next week, and it's looking like it might be hopefully another strong result. Are you looking forward to it at all?
Yeah, certainly, boys. I'm always looking forward to my Monday nights on the sim in Club Day Masters. But yeah, what track are we at next week, boys? I'm not even too sure.
Okayama,
yeah. I've done a fair bit of rookie racing around there on the sim in the MX-5s and that. So yeah, it should be a pretty interesting effort, and give it a good old crack.
Aaron, how much for your XL?
Oh, the XL, yeah, the XL's for sale at the moment. So it's going to be it's going up for sale for 36 grand. But that's not the car alone. So we've done a complete bundle deal. We chucked again together all our race bits that were collected over the last 3 years and the development of the car. So we've got a couple of spare motors sitting in the shed that will go along with it, heaps of heads, a couple of exhaust systems, we've got spare suspension to go with it, and then we've got 2 complete record cars to go with it too. So it's a bit of a complete package, and yeah, it also comes along with all our data that we collected from the tracks here in South Australia and Victoria, as well as some driver tuition for the new owner of the car.
By the way.
Well, nevertheless, any shout outs and any thanks you want to give out?
Yeah, certainly. First of all, I'd like to thank my current sponsors that are carrying on their support this year. Panrod Oil, Motivate Training, Joe Marana from Harcourt's Real Estate, Repco Murray Bridge, Embry Weldon Engineering Co. Murray Bridge, Living the Dream Australia, and Murray Bridge Batteries. And if there's anyone out there that's watching the stream tonight and is interested in sponsoring a car in real life, we will most likely and most definitely be on the grid for Bathurst at the last round of the Toyota 86 series this year. So if there's anyone watching that would like to support a car on the grid, just search up Aaron Oliver Racing on Facebook and send us a DM. Cheers, boys.
Well, there you go. Very, very happy, Aaron Oliver, and best of luck at Bathurst for your 86 debut. Well, I think we may as well talk to someone at MX5, Dylan Bursey, or standing by with him, David.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Yeah, Dylan, absolutely racing at the front of your class there. Both of the races. Photo finish for race 2. Race 1, maybe not so lucky though.
Yeah, race 1, she was a bit of a... Look, I don't even remember what happened in race 1, eh? I'm just going to say it must have been a bit how you going.
Well, with no chicanes for this Okayama layout, meant a lot of slipstreaming down the back straight. And yourself, Caleb Hyde, Sean Doyle into that sweeper at the end. Full commitment?
Yeah, she was, just had to absolutely send it into there. But, I mean, oh, that's what happened, yeah. Yeah, ended up just going a bit too hard into it, it seems. And, yeah, old mate ended up hitting the back of me, but I let the spot by just in case. I don't know if he thought it was my fault.
Early in the week to, you know, be a real hard head, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, end of the day, it's just heat 1. Doesn't matter, like you still got the final to go.
And what that second race? I mean, the safety car wasn't unusually early, but it was definitely a little bit earlier. And I think some of you guys would have pitted a bit earlier if you'd known, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure it would have been really tight on fuel if you pitted before the safety car. So I'm not too fussed anyway. Made the race a lot more fun. Starting from the back, like 5th place or something, after the safety car.
It was interesting for us when you get these restarts and some of the MX-5s are really tangled up with some of the TCRs there. What's the, you know, the speed difference like on those restarts?
Yeah, I mean, the TCRs are a little bit slow through the corners every now and again, so you do have to send some savages here and there just to like get past them. But I mean, at the end of the day, they just haul past you through the straight, so it doesn't really matter. You're just pretty much trying to keep close as you can with the other Mazdas, and it's pretty fun.
Well, I hope we're going to see you next week.
Yeah, we'll do. All right.
Well, who I also want to speak to in MX5 is our MX5 clean sweeper, Caleb Hydes.
Yeah, certainly. It's a very, very nice night and another good points haul for you, Caleb, to come away with 2 victories.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and obviously good nights of racing to come away with 2 wins just in the last race. Got it by like 5,000ths of a second, but no, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, overall good points event. I mean, that's the best we can do for an event, so yeah, happy with how it went.
You know, in that last lap or so, it was very, very close. We weren't sure who was going to end up coming away with the race when back at the start of the lap or even right at the end, with the fact that you guys had a very, very close finish against the, across the line. But nevertheless, did you have any specific strategy on how you wanted to approach the finish in terms of how you were looking to do it? Or did you just sort of throw caution to the wind and just send it?
Yeah, probably the second one, just sent it. I mean, me and Dylan speak in Discord every time we come and race in this series. And yeah, that's basically all we do, just send it, see who comes out on top. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So yeah, it's nice to be able to be friends and then race that hard as well for a win. Yeah, it's a lot of fun and really enjoy it.
We head to Okayama next week, a track probably I'd say everybody's familiar with at some point. Are you looking forward to it and thoughts on it?
Yeah, it should be all right. That was the track we used to qualify into this season, so everything should be pretty familiar. And yeah, I guess I'll come in, no practice, see how we go, and it should be a lot of fun, as it always is. It's a lot of fun this series, just to come in and, you know, just send it basically. So yeah, props to everyone that was out here racing tonight, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Anyway, we'll have to see you out there next week. Shout out to some sponsors. Who gets it done?
Yeah, just a big thank you to Drop Air Motorsports, everyone who puts on the Club Day Masters, and SimSpeed for putting on the broadcast.
Well, yeah, but David, a reasonably happy Caleb Hydes in the end, and I think that's pretty much everyone.
Yeah, certainly, and I do think that the 2 wins there is probably going to put Caleb Hydes to the lead of the championship for the MX-5s. In the TCR class, it either got closer or Aaron Oliver has taken the lead, because that is another championship that has just turned up another notch after round 4 of Club Day Masters. Round 5 is going to be same time next week, also broadcast here on SimSpeed. And I do get the idea it's probably not also too late to jump in if you want to race. So look up Club Day Masters. I think there is a Facebook page or a Facebook group or whatever it is. And of course, it is going to be broadcast here on SimSpeed as well. Check our YouTube description. Often there's interesting stuff, some links in there as well. But from Oulton Park to Okayama, we will see you next week on SimSpeed TV for Club Day Masters.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh
him.
my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?